Well, hey there. Are you ready for the weekend? I am. So let's get on with this. This week we read about the 10th plague, the final plague of Egypt, the death of the firstborn. This plague seems horribly cruel, and the story has been used to disavow the Bible and the God of the Bible by Bible critics for years. But we find the mercy of God at work even in the plagues and even in his judgment. So welcome to this week's Shabbat Shalom devotional, when I seek to share just a little inspiration and bring a little peace to the close of your very busy week. This week we're reading Exodus 10 verses 1 through chapter 13 verse 16, and it's called Bo. In Hebrew, Bo means to go. And this is where God tells Moses and Aaron to go to Pharaoh. So once again, they're being sent to Pharaoh. And this week we read about the 9th plague of darkness, and then that final plague, the plague of the death of the firstborn. So let's take a deeper look at this final and very deadly blow. First, you need to know God had warned Pharaoh in the very beginning in Exodus chapter 4 that if he refused to release God's firstborn son, that then Pharaoh's punishment would be to lose his firstborn son. Let's read that in chapter 4, verse 22 and 23. Then you shall say to Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, indeed, I will kill your son, your firstborn." Now you might be thinking, tit for tat? Well, no, actually, Pharaoh had killed all the male babies. God here is judging the firstborn male. Why the firstborn male? Well, the firstborn of the Egyptians belonged to their gods, just like Israel, the firstborn son belonged to the God of Israel. So by killing the firstborns of the Egyptians, God was executing judgment against the gods of the Egyptians. This was a very important point. I quoted this verse last week, and I'm going to quote it again this week. It's found in Exodus 12, verse 12, and it says this: "For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord." So the judgment is against the gods of Egypt. Yes, the people would suffer because they had put their hope in those false gods. Why such a strong judgment? Well, God's plan of redemption was being held captive in Egypt. You understand? The exodus from Egypt was not simply a migration of some tribe. It was the necessary prerequisite to God's plan to make this tribe a great nation, and through them to bless all the families of the earth. Now, we don't like the idea of a God who executes judgment. We prefer him to always be merciful and forgiving and looking the other way. But there comes a time when time is up. Judgment must be executed. And our merciful God will give you plenty of opportunities to turn things around. He gave the Egyptians 9 different plagues to warn them of judgment. But Pharaoh did not listen, so the 10th plague brought the house down. Now, God's firstborn was set free, and the story of redemption continued. This weekend, take a break and reflect on the fact that we do not serve a weak-kneed God who's all talk, no action. We serve a mighty God who is stronger than all the false gods of our world. And when their time is up, he will judge them. Until then, let's learn to apply the blood of the Lamb to our lives and our homes and live a life of faith in him. With that, I wish you Shabbat Shalom.